Obviously, the immigration debate, the illegal immigration debate, a lot of that has centered around national security. And when it comes to security matters, something that has been front and center for many of us for quite some time has been cybersecurity. We're all too aware of how many folks have been compromised, perhaps you, in the not so distant past. And we know that the one thing that is continuing to happen is, well, ever more efforts to try to steal your information and leave you vulnerable. And apparently now, even your cell phone number in the hands of the wrong people can compromise you. And to talk about all of the latest cybersecurity threats, we have Shawn Tuma, who's an attorney and a cybersecurity analyst. Come on, Shawn, you got to tell me, are cell phones in the hands of the wrong people going to end up becoming a problem? What's going on?
Well, they sure can be. You know, what we're seeing is our cell phone numbers, through a matter of convenience, are replacing our Social Security numbers as a means of identifying who we are. And in the past, we've preached protecting your Social Security number as a form of personal, sensitive information. And we need to start telling people that, understand how your cell phone number is being used in many ways to build a model on you, a mosaic of who you are, your credit profile, things like that. So you need to start protecting that as well, because identity thieves know that.
Okay, here's a really dumb question. How do we necessarily protect our cell phone number when, through convenience, many of us have had the same cell phone number because we can take it with us even across carriers for years? And for many people, it's their only form of communication because most people don't have landlines anymore.
Yeah, and part of what you said is why this is an issue, because it's permanent. It sticks with us, and that's why it's being used as a more reliable means of identifying us. And that is a problem, because we do give it out, we do use it, but we need to be more cautious about how we do it. We can't stop doing it altogether. Now, there are devices, systems out there where you can get a secondary cell phone number for using in other ways, but that's not going to solve the problem. We just need to be more cautious. And displaying it on the internet openly, providing it in chat rooms, putting it, at the checkout counter when they ask for your cell phone number. If they don't need it, just, decline to give it to them.
What about for business professionals having it in your email? A lot of people, that's their, part of their contact that they'll put out there in email to people. Is that a concern of yours?
Well, it's all a concern. Not so much because of how it's being used, because, look, I use my cell phone number. I have it in my email. It's a part of how we do business. It's more an understanding of how it's being affected, how it's being used to build this profile on us, and to be cognizant of it and pay attention is really the best advice I can give on that. Is to, we're not going to stop using our cell phone number or giving it out, but don't give it out to people that you don't need to, or be careful of who you're dealing with. If someone is sketchy and they don't seem to be a legitimate, business person, or they're just calling, fishing for information, don't even give them your cell phone number, because, that's part of your profile.
Shawn, something that was a first-time occurrence for me that almost led to me letting my guard down. I'm pretty skeptical, like most people. My cell phone is my primary form of communication to the outside world, and the number's out there for a lot of folks. And I receive some of those spam calls that many people do, and can generally detect them pretty quickly because I'm looking for something that doesn't seem right if I'm not familiar with the number. But I think it was maybe around March or so. I was actually in a meeting, and all of a sudden I see Brian Mudd is calling you. And I'm going, hold on, I'm calling myself? And you'd heard about how they are masking the phone numbers they're calling from and can emulate other numbers. But I actually took the call because it was my number calling me. And yeah, it turned out to be one of those, there's a thing with Microsoft and you do this, and one of those scammer type people. But are those also ways that people are being tricked with their cell phone, that because of these emulated numbers, sometimes there might be somebody that is in your contact list that, you might be more inclined to take the call from?
Sure. Mobile is replacing email in a lot of the ways that we've seen email being used for the last 10, 15 years. We're now seeing mobile being used. And with email, you're familiar with phishing emails where they mask or spoof someone else to send it to you in the hopes that you'll open it and click on a link. Now they're doing that with cell phones. They're doing it through the calls like you received. So it'll encourage you to answer if they think it's someone, if you think it's someone you know. And they're also doing it through text messages. You'll start seeing more of these text messaging marketing type things that are usually scams, but they'll have a link embedded in them. It's phishing through text messaging now as much as through email. And so we're seeing that pattern.
Well, I guess we just have to be aware that everything could be used against us these days and constantly be on the watch with our personal information. Thank you very much for the latest information. And, it's better to be aware than not. But, wow, is it, so pervasive, the ways in which people are trying to get at us these days. Shawn Tuma, cybersecurity analyst and attorney. We sure do appreciate the information and the time this morning.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you.
When you give your cell phone number, are you giving out a way to find out a whole lot about you?
Yeah, Shawn Tuma, cybersecurity analyst and an attorney. And Shawn, what the heck does our phone number tell people about us?
Well, our phone number does a lot of things. One, it's now the new key to our digital universe, which for most of us is everything we have. And when hackers are able to get our phone number, they're able to then use that and to either social engineer their way into our accounts and take over our accounts, then go in, clone our phones, and have access to a lot of what we have on our cell phones. Or they're really sophisticated ones are able to track our movements and read our text and messages and things like that. Now, that's not common, but it's possible.
Wow. All right. So occasionally we have to give people our numbers. What do we do?
Yeah, the real thing is just to be careful. A cell phone number is not something you just go throwing around to everyone. Use caution in giving it to people that have a legitimate need for it, that are trustworthy, that or that like if you meet someone and it's a potential business, operation or something, and you vet them. Think about it. Use your judgment. And that's really the whole point of this, is to teach people some awareness and to think before you give out numbers like that, because they use that to then build a profile of us and hack their way into our accounts if we're not careful.
So what are the basics of shielding our most personal information from other people?
LaDonna, ultimately our cell phones are computers, and they needed to be treated like that. And so using good passwords, one of the big things people do that they should stop is connecting to Wi-Fi that they're not sure is legitimate Wi-Fi. Hackers are known to spoof Wi-Fi, like at a hotel, and set up a dummy Wi-Fi that reads the hotel name. And people connect to it, and then they have access to everything they're doing. So be careful what you connect to. When you open emails, don't click on links in emails if you don't verify where they're going by hovering over that link. Use good security questions, have dual-factor authentication, two ways of proving who you are for a lot of our online accounts and things like that. Those are some basics that we all need to practice in all aspects of our lives.
All right, Shawn, thank you very much. That is Shawn Tuma, who is a cybersecurity analyst and an attorney, giving us some advice. And who knew that giving your cell phone number out could lead to cloning and all sorts of other things?
Yeah, I just stay off of public Wi-Fi. That's really the only thing that I know how to do.
So this is one of those stories that I read that I hadn't thought about it until I read it, and then I thought it made perfect sense to me, which is giving out your cell phone number is now as dangerous as giving out your Social Security number. Joining me on the WHO Newsmakers line, it is cybersecurity analyst and an attorney who specializes in computer data, our friend Shawn Tuma, returning to WHO. Shawn, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back on.
So, Shawn, now that I've read about this sounds perfectly logical, but why is it dangerous to freely give out your cell phone number?
Well, the danger is that over the course of time, our cell phone number has become a personal identifier that is used to map who we are to companies, to financial industry, and it's taken the place of the Social Security number in a lot of ways, which means bad guys are trying to use that as a means of identity theft.
So they could use that number and get access to your financial data because it's hooked up to your cell phone, right?
That's right. Or companies are using our cell phone whenever they run checks on us to say, is this person creditworthy? Our cell phone number is a huge part of that profile that's been built out there. And so it's a means of identifying us and mapping or this mosaic about us.
So
now, the problem is...
Yeah, go ahead, Shawn.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, you do.
We've been giving it out for years.
You anticipated my next question, my friend.
That's right. And it's a challenge because all of us, and me included, we include our cell phone numbers in our email address, in our email signature, on our business cards, all this stuff. So the cat's already out of the bag, and that's a problem now because we don't really know how to get it back in there.
Right, exactly. So going forward, though, Shawn, so many people in so many situations are asking for my cell phone number. Is there a way of being cautious about giving it out?
Yeah, I think, they're using it in a lot of ways to market to us. That's why merchants are asking for it. And we should simply say, why do you need it? Unless you can give me a good reason for why you need my cell phone number, I'm declined to give it to you. And I think that's all we can really do reasonably is just be more cautious going forward, not be as free in giving it out to people that we don't have existing relationships with or that we don't believe will lead to significant relationships.
That is cybersecurity analyst Shawn Tuma. Shawn, thanks very much for your advice. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Have a great day.
You're welcome. You too. Thank you.
Our friend Shawn Tuma. How are you?
I'm doing great, Stevie J. How are you today?
This is a cybersecurity analyst and attorney who specializes in computer data, a.k.a. geekish. Shawn, nice to have you back on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back and share some geekishness.
Well, because you're a geekish, making a lot of money because you're so darn smart. Why giving out your cell phone number can be dangerous. All of us have, or some of us have seen the movie Taken, where these women are taken as sex slaves, and it's getting so easy for people to find people because of our phones. Is that correct?
It is. Our cell phone number has really taken over our Social Security numbers as the primary means of how we're identified and connected, and this massive mosaic that's built about us that we don't even really think about and know is out there.
Well, so what do we do?
Well, we start by raising awareness, and that's, what you're doing right here, teaching people to think for a moment, to stop and say, wait, this is a valuable number that identifies me and allows people to connect to me. Why am I giving it to them? Who am I giving it to? What are they doing with it? Why do they need it? Things like that. And, that's where it starts, is we have to treat this as more valuable than we've treated it in the past.
So what's your solution? What kind of good, solid advice can you give me, Shawn?
Well, if you're quick-witted, when someone asks you for your number, just give them 8675309.
8675309. That was a song, wasn't it?
Ken Band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give them that. But otherwise, just ask them, why do you need it? Why is this important that I provide that? Because what they're really doing usually is they're wanting that as a means of marketing to you.
Right.
And who wants to be marketed to anymore? And the other thing is, don't go broadcasting it on the internet. Don't put it on your Facebook profile or things like that, because these are all little bits of information that people use to build a picture of us and our lives that they then use to predict, to read us, to understand us better than we understand ourselves many times.
Yeah.
And that's not always bad unless bad people get a hold of that, and they certainly do.
And then certainly this whole advent of locating people now, which is fairly common, where I now know your physical location if you allow me to do that.
Yeah, it's tracking every single place we go. And by the way, Google, if you ever go to your Google account and look up your location, if you have it enabled, you'll see everywhere you've been. Family law attorneys love this.
Wow. Well, it sounds like Montana in a cabin with no phone. What do you think?
I'm not recommending that, but there's probably some balance between now, at this point, and that point that we need to be at.
Well, and again, when you have a cell phone number, and I've dealt with many, many coaches at a very high level that keep the same number for years because all the recruits have it, all the coaches have it. It's hard to switch a number.
It is, and we don't want to switch it because it's become part of our identity.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is it stays with us.
You know, Shawn, I was just going through a booklet because I needed a handyman yesterday, and there were so many cell phones listed in this advertising booklet. I was thinking to myself, wow, they're really putting themselves out there. Of course, most of these guys probably aren't wanted for sexual trafficking and all that. But, what do you think to someone who's that? I mean, I love the fact that they are personal and I can text them and say, are you available for this project? But yet, that really puts them out there, doesn't it?
It does. And it's now look, I do it too in many times. I provide my cell phone number to my clients and people that need to reach me. And so really it's about our awareness and understanding the consequences of what we're doing when we put it out there and making a conscious choice. It's a part of our lives, our privacy. And we give away our privacy every day for convenience and for reasons, but we need to think about it and make a conscious decision based on information, not just whimsical without ever considering, oh, wow, this number is going to be there for the rest of my life. Now everybody has it.
Yep.
Those kind of things.
Well, I was searching for some health insurance and made the dreadful mistake of giving them my cell phone. Every 20 minutes.
Yeah, and now they
every 20 minutes.
And they're going to call you.
Every 20 minutes until I put a stop on it. It was every 20 minutes wow, what a mistake. But I'm telling you, it's out there, and they got people with headsets and all. The world has my number now.
That's right. Shoot.
All right,
They
Shawn.
do a couple of years ago.
Yeah?
Thank you, Stevie J.
Hey, how do we reach you?
My website, ShawnETuma.com.
SHAWNE Tuma TUMA ShawnETuma.com.
That's right.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate your information.
You're welcome. Thank you.